Okay? You say, why in the world we had such a big change with the HASCOM program? Well, it's pretty simple. The United States is basically not in compliance with the rest of the nations as far as the labeling, the safety data, or the safety data sheet was concerned. So they said, hey, we've got to get in compliance with the rest of the nations because they were shipping stuff from one location over here. We were shipping stuff over to different areas as well. It was not compatible with each other. And that's where the big problem lied at. So they come up with a brand new system now. Let's go to the other part. Basically, there's 4 changes you're going to find, of course. Is the first of course, is a hazard classification. Provides basically criteria for basically health and physical hazards of the mixtures. Second thing is the labeling system has changed from what it was in the past. It's no longer considered as a material safety data sheet. It is referred to as a safety data sheet now. Okay? Let's go to the other part. Information and training basically is required to have training within the year of 2013. We started about a year ago, and we're in the process of pretty much getting everybody caught up now. So I think about 3/4 of the campus is already done. So we're kind of making pretty good progress as far as that is concerned. The chemical inventory list, the safety data sheets, the other part, of course, is the labeling system, the employee training, and of course, the OSU written plan. This is all basically the 5 stages within the HASCOM program. Doesn't matter if you're working here or if you've been out in the industry, all these 5 stages are still the same, so not much difference there. Let's go to the other part. Who in this group is responsible for your chemical inventory list? There's got to be somebody in this group. We've got one. Okay, one of the things I tell you is we do have this set up now where it's on a web-based system. Something you may want to check into if you're not already doing it on the web system now. And basically what it comes down to is once you enter the chemical into your particular area for the products that you have, you can continually have an ongoing process as far as an up-to-date inventory for the type of chemicals that you work with in your particular location. Okay? So, with that said, if you are to the point where you order in new chemicals, make sure they are added to the chemical inventory list then, and don't put it off, please. And the way it's set up is basically is if there is a fire in one particular building, or they have some type of chemical exposure or spill, whatever it may be, they can actually bring it up on a laptop and be, pretty much tell what's in that particular room area, if the inventory is kept up to date. So something I did want to mention as far as your chemical inventory list is concerned. If not, you always go back to the old Excel format. A lot of people are still using that, so whatever works best for your needs. If you would like to get hooked up on the web-based system, call 72401 here on campus, and ask for Juanita. She can actually get you hooked up within that particular system. So make sure it's as accurate as you possibly can, and do not forget about adding your compressed gas cylinders to your chemical inventory list. A lot of people would just rather than regular chemicals, but they forget about the compressed gas cylinders that you may have within your work area. So did want to mention that. Come down to number 3 right here. This is the most important one to remember right here. Is please make sure you use up the older chemicals before you start ordering in new chemicals, please. Okay? There's nothing worse than somebody stockpiling a bunch of chemicals, then it gets to the point where you're no longer using them, and then you have to dispose of them then. Okay? So like I said, use up the old before you start using up the new, or maybe you can share with someone that may use the same product within your particular work area. So something I did want to kind of mention there. The other thing too is you do want to remember on this next part, the new safety data sheet shall be written in English. That's specifically stated in, back up for a second, 29 CFR 1910-1200, which essentially is the OSHA HASCOM standard. Okay. If you do need a supplemental language for the type of chemical that you have in your work area, a lot of manufacturers now are actually putting them on their web page. You can go into the web page, click on that particular product, and actually it gives you selection for some companies as far as which language you'd like to have it printed off in. Okay? And that's part of the HASCOM program. Let's go to the other part. The new safety data sheets have 16 sections associated with them now. In the past, some had 9, some had 12, and some had 16. Straight across the board now for all the manufacturers that produce a product, it's 16 sections they are required to have as far as the safety data sheet is concerned. Okay? I guarantee it's a whole lot easier to reading it like this than it was in the past, because essentially is they break it down precisely as far as what information they want you to know about at that particular time. Identification is the first part. Basically is who is the supplier of this particular product. Okay, who's the manufacturer of this particular product? That's what you're going to find in that section right there. The other thing too is on the next one, hazard identification. What are some type of warning information they put in there? Okay. What are the hazards if I work with this particular chemical? What's the worst thing that could happen to me if I use this particular product? Okay. Let's go to the other part. The ingredients. One of the things I tell you is some of the companies do have trade secrets associated with their particular product. What you may not realize is they do not have to divulge that particular information to you. You say, well, how do I know if I can use my product or their particular product? Call the manufacturer up with the product you want to use. Say, hey, is it compatible? Yes or no. And that's what they're going to tell you, either yes or no, either it is or it is not compatible. Okay? So then the other part, the first aid measures. This is something that's kind of a brand new section they have added in. So they started adding more in-depth information to this particular section. If you get chemical splashed on you, do you add water or do you not add water? If an employee does ingest that particular chemical, what do we do? That's all within the new first aid section, and we've not had that in the past. Okay? The other thing too that they have changed firefighting measures. Actually, it's going to tell you exactly what type of extinguishing agent do I use. Do I use a water? Do I use dry chemical? Do I use a CO2 extinguisher? Or do I just let it burn itself out? That's what you're going to find in the firefighting measure. It may just say, hey, stand back so many feet away from that particular fire. You may say, hey, just let the thing burn itself out. That's what you're going to find in the firefighting measures. Okay? Let's go to the other part. Accidental release measures. In the department you work in, you should have some type of a small spill cleanup kit of some type for the type of chemicals you work with. Kitty litter works pretty good. Not real expensive. And basically what it does, it takes a liquid, it kind of absorbs whatever that chemical is at that particular time. You got a large spill, give EHS a call, they can actually come over and clean it up for you. Okay? If you do have a large chemical spill, perimeter the area off so no one can actually come in contact with it. Give EHS a call, and of course they can actually come over and actually clean up that particular chemical spill. Do not, as a custodial housekeeper, clean up chemical spills, please. I know the main part of the campus over here, they've actually set up over there, and they will not clean up chemical spills. They've been instructed not to. Okay? They can actually cause more damage if they just left the chemical where it was at, because you're not equipped to clean up chemical spills. Let's go to the other part. This is another section they have added in it. Handling and storage of chemicals. This is something that's very, very important to remember. A lot of the chemicals that you work with, they're going to say basically keep away from open flames, keep away from any type of ignition sources. That's pretty common sense right there. Also may stay in there, keep out of direct sunlight. Okay? It all depends on what the product is. But that's information you're going to find in the handling and storage aspect of it. Make sure the chemical is compatible with the type of container that you can pour it into another container, for example. Make sure the compatibility is there as well. Okay? Let's go to the other part, exposure control in your PPE. How many of y'all wear personal protective equipment when you work with chemicals? Anybody? Some of y'all in this group may not ever work with chemicals. But those of you in this group that do work with chemicals, make sure you have the appropriate type of personal protective equipment for the type of chemicals you're going to be dealing with. It's going to tell you exactly what type of gloves do I need to wear. And there's all different types of gloves that are out there on the market. One of the things I tell you is if you happen to have employees who are allergic to a product called latex, that is one of the gloves that you're going to find out there. Does anybody know the basic symptoms of latex allergies? What to look for? This is real important. Anybody know? Normally the first sign is going to be hives. The second thing is going to be some type of breathing difficulties or respiratory problems. Okay? Same thing holds true of latex bandages if you have in the work area. So you may want to go back, see if you have those products, kind of clean some of those out, and maybe go with the nitrile gloves. The nitrile gloves, easy way to remember that, are normally the colored gloves that you're going to find. And maybe y'all wear the blue gloves out there. There's whole boxes of blue gloves, some of y'all wear those. Those type of gloves, if they're giving you any type of problems, it may be the powder in the gloves that's giving you the irritation. Normally you break out with a rash. Grabs to the finger, top of the hand, you'll start to just scratch back and forth, and next thing you know, your hands start to bleed then. Okay? Get powderless gloves. That works so much easier for you. You're also, the other thing too is make sure the gloves are compatible with the type of chemicals you're working with. That's very, very important to remember that part. Let's go to the other part up here. Let's talk a little about the physical properties of the chemicals. Okay, what exactly is that particular chemical made up of? Okay? Same thing with your activity data. How many of y'all ever read the labels on a container? Y'all ever take the time to read them? Some people just assume, hey, it's a product, I've used it before, no problem. Make sure you read the reactivity data. What's going to happen if you mix this product with another product that's out there on the market? And I'll tell you a good example of products you have not only here at the work area, but also at your house. This is bleach and ammonia. Very, very common household products. You also have them in the workplace. As long as you keep those two separate, what happens? You may know? Nothing. You're not going to see nothing happening. As soon as you merge those two products and mix those two products together, you actually create what? Chlorine gas. It can be very asphyxiating for you. Okay? Make sure you read the safety data sheets. It will tell you exactly what is compatible and what is not compatible with the type of product you will be working with. Okay? Let's go to the other part up here. Let's talk about the toxicology portion of it. How is this product going to affect me? Is it going to be something short-term? Is it going to be something long-term exposure? Have any of y'all heard the word acute before? You get acute type of an injury occur, you may get chemical spilled on you, cause a rash, burn, something like that. Normally it goes away within a short period of time. The chronic is the one to be is the other one to be concerned about, long-term exposure. At first you see no problems working with the product. As you gradually start increasing the use of that product, you may start having some physical effects of it. The thing that you do want to keep in mind, though, one way you can prevent that from happening is use your personal protective equipment. It's provided to you, it's up to you to actually make sure you wear it. And that's something most people don't even think about. What's going to happen long term if I use this one particular product? Okay? So kind of keep that in mind. Ecological information, it's a brand new section that I actually put in there. When I'm talking about ecological, I'm talking about how's it going to affect the environment? What's going to happen? If I get into the water system, is it going to affect plants, animals, the air systems? This is what you're going to find under the ecological portion of the safety data sheets now. Disposal consideration, please do not pour chemicals down the drain, please. Okay? If you have chemicals you need to dispose of, call EHS and they can actually come over and pick up your chemical waste. But please do not pour them down the drain. Okay? Let's talk about the other part, transportation aspect. This is another section they've actually included on the safety data sheet we've not had in the past. How am I going to transport this particular product? Is it something that I can ship through the air system? Can I put it in a truck, railway system, or even in the waterway systems, as far as transportation is concerned? We've not had that in the past. We've had it now, though, through the new safety data sheets. The regulatory information, you think that's important? There's 5 basic regulatory agencies we have to keep in compliance with. First, of course, is OSHA, EPA, Oklahoma Department of Labor, Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality. NFPA is the 5th one we have to keep in compliance with. National Fire Protection Association. All the 5 that I just mentioned, keep this in mind, they all come back to this HAZCOM program. Somewhere in that particular area they're going to be affected. Okay? Let's go to the other part. Other information, if they have any new updates that is going to occur, that's where they're going to put that information in there now. 16 sections to the new safety data sheets. We've already started seeing some of these on this campus right here. We've also started seeing some of the new labeling and also some of the new pictograms that you have right there in front of you in the handouts. We actually have that right here on this campus. So under manufacturer kind of stepped up ahead of time, said, hey, we're going to put this information out, let's get it done. And they've actually started putting these products out there. So if you run across any of these new labels or pictograms, it shouldn't be a surprise to you because all the information I gave you right there in the handouts, we're going to cover in just a second. If you do request a safety data sheet, for the area that you do work in, your employer is required to have a safety data sheet for every product you have within the work area. You say, well, where do we store these things? How do we keep control of this? If you want to put them in a notebook, that's fine. If you want to put them on a computer system, that's fine. Just as long as the employee has access to that particular information. How many of y'all are still using the notebooks that are out there? It has a little binder, it says MSDS on the very edge of the binder. For those of you using those, you'll take the letter M, cut your little line across it, peel the letter M off, you've already got SDS there. Safety data sheet book. We've also got some of these new labels already ordered, so if you need some of those, let our department know, we'll bring some over here or put them in campus mail to you. Like I said, That's the new word to remember, is SDS, as opposed to material safety data sheet like it was in the past. Okay? Let's go to the other one up here. If you do request a safety data sheet for a product, your employer cannot provide it to you, and it is your right as an employee to refuse work for that particular product. Okay, does that get you out of work? No. But what it will do is actually give you the chance to read the safety data sheet for the type of products that they're actually using in your place of employment. Okay, that's all part of the HAZCOM, and basically the HAZCOM program was designed to protect the employees in the place of employment. That's what the program was designed for. Okay. Let's go to the other part up here real quickly. These are the three type of labeling and marking system we utilize here at Oklahoma State University. The first one, of course, is the NFPA Diamond, HMIs, and of course ULHS signage system that we do utilize here. Okay? And I know y'all seen these in the past. How many of y'all seen this before? Yeah. It's not only here at the university, but anywhere you go, pretty much, you're going to find. This is known as the NFPA Diamond. Okay? And basically what it was designed for was for the fire department. So when the fire department shows up, they know pretty much what type of scenario, what type of hazards they're going to encounter if they enter that particular building. The NFPA can actually come up with a color code system. The blue stands for health, the red's for flammability, the yellow's for activity data, and of course the white is for special information. Okay? They come up with a numerical rating system, runs from 0 to 4. The higher the number, the worse the hazards are going to be, and the lower the number, the safer it's going to be in that particular location. Okay? As an employee, it really does not affect you. But as a fireman, it would affect them, so they know exactly what type of hazards they're going to get into if they enter that particular building. You say, well, where do y'all get all this information from? How do they come up with these numbering systems? At the very beginning, when I mentioned how your chemical inventory, this is so important, make sure it's accurate as you possibly can make it. We take your one particular work area, all the other work areas in that particular building that has chemicals in them, all that information gets compiled together, and that's where they come up with the numerical rating system. Runs from 0 to 4. Okay? But we have to have the chemical inventory list. So that's another important thing to kind of remember there. So about labels real quickly. Remember this, as long as you have the manufacturer label attached to the container, that will work. If you pour it from a labeled container into an unlabeled container, please make sure that other container that does not have a label on it, you attach a label to it. Because if it does not have a label on it, it's considered as an unknown. Unknowns are very expensive to dispose of. Okay? You say, well, it's water. Well, that's great. Make sure it has a label on it. What we don't want to see is something that looks like this out there. This is what we don't want to see. You have a container, it's clear, but we have no idea what's in this particular bottle, if there was a liquid in it. It's considered as an unknown. Okay? So make sure that you do put labels on all containers that have chemicals in that particular container, please. Okay? Let's go to the other part. How many of y'all have seen some of these before? This is actually a universal label we utilize here at OSU. If you need any of these, give our department a call, provide them to you free of charge. It's a pretty good deal. But one thing that I tell you is if you have to put these on a spray bottle, there's a very high tendency these things may start to run the lettering. I've seen very few spray bottles that did not leak. You may want to get you some of that clear postage tape. Go 1/2 inch above the label, 1/2 inch below, and tape it very tightly. Get you through probably about a month or even 2. We've tried this in some other departments and been very successful with it. So like I said, remember, make sure there's labels on containers. The other thing too, as far as labels is concerned, make sure that the container is sealed and the cap is put on very securely. What we don't want to see is a container has a lid actually removed from it, because EPA actually considers that as a means of disposal through evaporation to the atmosphere. So make sure you have a container that has a lid on it, make sure it's secured, please. This is the new label that you're going to see out there. If you'll take the handout I provided you all, if you'll turn it sideways, you're actually going to see the new label that's out there. It has 5 parts to the label, and I guarantee you this is the most easiest label you've ever had to read before. Okay? How many of y'all have tried to read the information on the container before? As far as the label is concerned, what did you notice about it?
That it's hard to read and it's awkward. You can't understand it.
They kind of crunch it all down. It's all crunched together, and you have no idea what they just said at that particular time. You kind of get lost when you're trying to read that information. The new labels have 5 sections to them, and I guarantee you it's the easiest one you've ever sat down and read before. First, of course, is what's the name of the chemical? Okay, what chemical are we dealing with? That's the first one. The second one you're going to find are signal words. If you look right below the diamonds that you see there on look right below the pictograms that you see on the label right there, it's actually going to tell you signal words. Like the one y'all have there, it says hazard, it may say danger to it. You want to see that? That's a new word that they have put out there now. Let's go to the other part. It has a hazard statement associated with it. What kind of harm could this chemical cause me? We've not had that in the past. Okay, it's going to tell you exactly. It's going to be an irritant. It's going to be an inhalation problem. It tells you exactly what type of problems you may experience if you work with this particular chemical. Let's go to the fourth part up here. The pictograms. Any ideas why they came up with pictograms? What's the main purpose of it? It's a universal type language. You can look at the pictogram and pretty much distinguish what that particular picture means for that particular product. One of the things that I would tell you is if you look at the pictograms you have there in front of you, the pictograms are going to have basically a white background, a black picture with red outline borders to it. Does everybody see that? All the pictograms, there's a total of 9 of them all together. That is a standard color that you're going to find. Okay? So just kind of remember that portion. This is number 5 is very important as well, the precautionary statement. If you read that precautionary statement, it tells you exactly the first aid portion of it, the fire aspect of it, all the medical aspect of it. It tells you exactly everything you need to know about that particular chemical is going to be in section number 5, which basically is the precautionary statement on the label. The label that you find in front of you on that page is exactly what they look like on the containers that's coming out. I've already seen 2 of them out here on this campus. They look exactly like the one you see right there in front of you. The only thing that's different is they kind of made it a little bit smaller so it can actually be attached to the container. These I actually blew up just a little bit so I'll be able to read them off the page, from the page. Let's go to the other part. Have you ever seen one of these before outside some of these areas here on campus? If you're in any of the university buildings that has laboratories in them, this is one of the things that we utilize at laboratories. This is basically known as ULHS signage system. And basically what it comes down to is what's the hazards that I'm going to encounter if I enter this particular lab area. That's what you're going to find in that particular section right there. Okay? These are all the brand new pictograms that you're going to find. There's a total of 9 of them all together. The handout that you have there in front of you, I basically listed all 9 of them. Right below there, actually listed some of the statements you're going to find associated with those particular pictograms. Okay? Let's go to the first one right here. If y'all look at this pictogram right here, what does this tell you? Any ideas?
If you swallow it, it's hazardous.
Basically, that's a good answer right there. Remember, from the waist to the top of the head is what it's concerned about. It talks about the health hazard associated with the chemical. It's going to cause any type of cancer. It's going to cause breathing problems. It's going to cause reproductive type problems. It's going to affect the lungs, damage the lungs, whatever it may be. But remember, how's it going to affect me physically, health-wise? That's what that pictogram actually is designed for. So the other part. What about 2 flames inside of 1 flame right here? Any ideas?
Explosive and flammable.
Okay. Flammables. 2 flames, flammables. Some examples they included in here are solid, liquid, and gases. Used to, they had those broke down individually. Now they're all 3 combined into one particular pictogram. We've not had that in the past. Maybe reaction to those type of substances may cause a fire. The other 2 is may cause burn very violently, particularly if it comes in contact with air. Okay? This is the flammable type of pictograms you will find out there. What about this one? Exclamation point. Yeah, some people go, uh-oh. Yeah, that's what that means. How's it going to affect? What are the irritants? Okay? The skin, for example, is going to be sensitized. It's going to affect the eyes, the skin itself. The acute and chronic is the other aspect, and I talked about that earlier. The other thing, too, is it may cause some type of lightheadedness, sleepy, or even narcotic effect if you use this particular chemical. One of the things I tell you about most chemicals you're going to find out there is going to tell you work in a well-ventilated area at all times. Okay? So make sure that you open the doors, raise the windows, wherever you have to, and get some fresh air flowing in there if you work with any type of chemicals. What about this one right here? Any ideas? Yeah, if you look at the header there, it specifically states compressed gases, or the gases under pressure of some type. Okay, that's a universal symbol for gases right there. Maybe flammable, maybe oxidizing, of course, maybe reactive as far as compressed gas is concerned, or you take it one step further, it may accidentally release, cause the cylinder to rocket or even pinwheel. Okay? Maybe at liquid context may cause skin to actually freeze. That's the universal pictogram you're going to find out there. What about this one right here? I know y'all have seen this before. If you ever looked at an automotive battery before, you're going to see the symbol on there. Yeah, it's going to burn, which basically means it's going to be corrosive. Okay? If you get it on your skin, it's going to cause some type of burn. May damage the eyes, also may damage metals or other type of materials. We've not had this pictogram in the past. We have it now, though. Okay? Let's go to the other one. What about this one right here? Explosives. Okay? Explosive type of material may self-react, self-heat, for example. The power forks is another good example. This is one of the other ones you're going to find, organic peroxides. You probably don't have any of those in this building, but we do have quite a few buildings on campus that may have organic peroxides in them. And what you really have to be careful of this particular product is, particularly if it happens to crystallize, just the friction can cause an explosion in that particular container. Let's go to the other one. What about the circle with the flames above it? Any ideas? Just like you see right here. Remember oxidizers. Oxidizers basically cause organic materials to combust, but most importantly is, oxygen is a thing that oxidizers love. That's where they basically live off of. Okay? That's their main food source, is oxygen. What about a tree and a dead fish? Any ideas? This is another pictogram we've not ever had in the past. Think about the environmental, Think about the environmental aspects of it. Okay? Plants, animals, for example. How's it going to affect the airways, the water systems, things like that? Okay? What happens if you get into the environment? That's what that pictogram means. What the skull and crossbones? It's been around for years. Okay? Which basically means it's going to be something very quickly that happens. Acute, short-term exposure. Good example would be a severe hazard. It could also be fatal or extremely toxic. That's what you're going to find in that particular pictogram. Okay? Let's go to this other one right here. Oops. How many of y'all have one of these located outside your door somewhere in the building you work in? And I know y'all have some of these. I've seen them over here before. Basically what these are designed for is where the chemicals are located, who's in charge of that particular room or that particular location. If something goes wrong, who do we need to contact? It's basically designed for the fire and the police departments, what these were designed for. Notifications. The bottom part down here, what is the worst scenario you could possibly get into? Is it full of chemicals? Is it radioactive? Is there lasers? Or is there biological agents? Is it BL2, BL3 research lab? That information you'll find located in the special information area at the very bottom of the page. If your name happens to be on one of this particular page right here, make sure it's kept up to date, please. Okay? Make sure that information is updated. This is another type of a slide I did want to throw in here. This is like the pictogram right up here to the very far right. How many of y'all have seen these red containers before? Anybody know what the pictogram for those are? Biohazard is 3 circles with a circle behind it. That means it's biohazard. Okay? Usually it's going to be in the red boxes or it may be in red bags. What goes in the bags, what goes in the boxes shall stay in those particular containers. Don't be digging them out, things like that. What goes in shall stay in. Okay? The other thing, too, is you want to keep in mind, the only thing that goes in these is sharps, razors, or even needles, for an example. Okay, it's what you want to find in these sharps containers. Nothing else.
Do you provide those, Greg?
Yeah, you can actually call over to the hazardous waste group. They can hook you up on that part if you need one. Okay? But remember, do not throw sharps in the trash bag, please. And then you say, well, how in the world do y'all find out? Someone gets stuck or poked or cut. It's above the ankle, below the knee, or in the palm of the hand. Someone's put a sharps in that particular trash bag. Because someone has to come by and pick up the trash. Do not put them in trash bags, please. Put them in a sharps container. Okay? Let's go to the other part. Employee training is pretty simple to remember. Specific training for the type of chemicals you work with. Some of y'all in this group work with no chemicals. Some of y'all work with different types of chemicals. But the employees have to be trained on those specific type of chemicals they're going to be using. At the initial time of assignment, whenever new chemicals brought into the work area. Okay? Let's go to the other part. The regulations are basically effect as far as HAZCOM is concerned when it passed the OSHA standard, which is 29 CFR 1910-1200, is the HAZCOM standard. Basically what that standard specifically stated was, if you work in a building, walk through that particular area involved as far as handling of chemicals, it is employers' responsibility to provide you HAZCOM training for the type of chemicals you may work with in that particular work area. Okay? This program was designed to protect you as an employee. It's basically designed for the employees it was designed for. Okay? Let's go to the other part. Where's your safety data sheets located? Go back from when you leave here, go back to the part of work and say, hey, where's my SDS located? Look for them, see where they're located. Let's go to the other part. What are some of the chemicals you work with? That's very important to remember. Okay? Let's go to the other part. The method to detect and release and also the physical hazards of the chemicals. How's these chemicals going to affect them? Measure for PPE or personal protective equipment. Okay? What kind of personal protective equipment do I need to wear to protect myself? I will tell you this, folks. This is the most important thing to remember if you work with chemicals. A barrier between your body and whatever type of chemicals you're trying to work with at that particular time. Make sure the personal protective equipment is compatible for the type of chemicals you work with, please. That's very, very crucial to remember that. Why? It protects you. Okay? Let's go to the other part, location of the written plan. One of the things I tell you about the written plan is available to everybody in this group free of charge. You can go to the EHS website, and I've got that information at the very end, and actually receive a free copy of the OSU HAZCOM program. Okay? I said free. You cannot charge an employee for copies of the HAZCOM program. Let's go to the other part. How many's ever heard of an employee exposure report form? You may have. It's one of the forms that we do have out there. One of the things I tell you about the employee exposure report form, you're exposed to any type of vapor, mist, gas, dust. Make sure you do remember this. Take care of the employee first. Okay? You got 24 hours to get this paperwork filled out and turned into the EHS department. The employee safety is more important than this piece of paper. Just take care of their needs at that time. Okay? Then you can fill out the paperwork. Let's go to the other part up here. How do you get chemicals into the body? It's pretty simple. Inhalation, you can ingest them. They can actually be absorbed. They can be injected into the body. 4 ways, folks. It's actually how you get chemicals into your system. And all 4 of these are preventable. Okay? Good example may be the use of personal protective equipment, your PPE. I cannot stress that enough. Protect yourself while you're out there. Make sure the gloves that you have are compatible with the type of chemicals you're working with. If you work with chemicals, wear chemical goggles. That's what they're designed for. Chemical goggles actually keep chemicals out of the eyes. There's no way they can get into it. Safety glasses, on the other hand, do they keep chemicals out of your eyes? No. They come through the top, through the side, whatever. Safety glasses are designed for impacts, is what they're essentially designed for. Let's go to the other part. How many of y'all have a dress code and y'all stick for the department, particularly if you work with chemicals? Make sure that dress code specifically states if you work with chemicals. Make sure the type of clothing they wear, the type of footwear they wear, it's compatible with the type of environment they're going to be working in. That's very, very important to remember that part. Go to the very bottom. For those of you that may have long hair, remember that if you work around chemicals, make sure you pull your hair up and tie it to the very back. There's no way those chemicals can actually get into your hair can get in those particular chemicals. That's very important to remember that. Okay? Same way with the type of clothing that you do wear. If you're working with chemicals, don't be wearing shorts. Okay? Don't be wearing flip-flops, sandals, or open-toed shoes. That's what you don't want to wear. Okay? Wear something that's going to protect your body while you're working with chemicals. Okay? Do y'all have any questions? No questions? The handouts, I'd highly recommend that you take them back to your department, post them somewhere, unless you can kind of reference back to those handouts. That is all the new information on the labels, the pictograms that you're going to find out there. So take it and keep it and make use of it, please. The website that you see up here, you can go on the website at the very bottom, uhs.okstate.edu. Anything we have covered, you're going to find right there. Any of the paperwork we've talked about, the report forms are located there. The labels are all on there as well. So I do thank you all for coming. You all have a safe and wonderful day.
Thank you.